Okay, welcome back. Last time we started to make our way through the Monad Mandala. We basically got through the first area, then we got to the rest area, which let us come back to Sumaru City, and I ended off the episode at the Velvet Room, because today we're going to be starting up the additional scenario, and this will take a few episodes. Like, part 1 and part 2, I'll probably just do in one episode each, but then the third part will be a good few, because it's a fairly lengthy chapter. So, well, let's just get right on into it. Okay, so, Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, A Lone Shadow. This is where we will also be introduced to Shiori Mayashiro. Come on in, Tatsuya-kun. The room over there is open, so feel free to use it. Also, there will be a lot of talking, because there's a lot of dialogue here. I lived in bachelor housing until last year. I didn't have any privacy at all though, so I splurged and rented this place. It's kind of big for someone living alone, so you came at just the right time. I mean, come on, this is the only place with an open room close to my workplace. We'll carry the living room sofa at your room later, or would you prefer a bed? Oh, and if you want to watch TV, you can use this room anytime. When I invited him into my home, clothes and what few cosmetics I owned were scattered all over. I tried to keep chatting in as bright a tone as possible while I tidied up, but I might have sounded a little shrill and nervous. I don't know if he was being considerate or was embarrassed by the state of my apartment. He loitered by the window, stoic and silent, without looking at the room. I mean, Tatsuya's seen Maya's apartment. This would be a massive improvement. Instead, the long shadow that bore down across my floor told the tale of his mental state, of lost bearings, of rejection, and of loneliness. He meant to vanish somewhere, like shadows slipping into darkness with the sunset, doing something all on his own, now and forever. But I wouldn't allow it. I've had circumstances that have been on hold for 10 years. That's right, this wasn't just his story, it was both of ours. So, we will be at Club Zodiac for this entire chapter, basically. So, yeah, get used to this one piece of music, because it will loop for the entire time we're here. Ana Yoshizaka-san? Who are you? The fact that she didn't deny it when I suddenly asked her name and instead asked for my identity proved that it was her. I was prepared for it and opened my purse and thrust my ID into her face. Her blank expression was unusual for a kid her age. I didn't much like my own surly portrait, which was printed above my full name and my rank as a policewoman. I'm Shiori Mayashiro with the Conan PD Juvenile Division. It's a pleasure to meet you. I only came here to use the bathroom. I'm just about to head home. She'd already guessed why a juvie detective, and not one of the traffic cops she's acquainted with, showed up at this hour. As Anna moved away from the wall she'd been leaning against, she told me a bold-faced lie and began walking towards the exit. That's not what I came here for. Not today. I've got things I want to ask you. Anna stopped, glanced over her shoulder, and fixed me with an emotionless stare. I realised she'd jumped to conclusions on why I came. Otherwise I wouldn't have mattered what I'd said. She'd have tried to leave, just as she'd been doing, to avoid causing trouble for the club. Every community has unwritten rules. She dropped out of school in the track and field scene, and found her place in a world somewhere she didn't belong. She was already part of this apathetic subculture. You know that Daisuke Kaneda, the man who did the hit and run on you, got out on bail, correct? What about it? He was killed. The first hint of emotion appeared on Anna's face, even that was evanescent. First time I've heard that word in a very long time. And when her beautiful eyebrows, twisting with suspicion, returned to her old stony-faced mask, she let out a single brief breath. And so you came to investigate me. When did I? Anna no doubt knew far too well what the cops would ask at a time like this due to the incident that had ended her sports career. She beat me a punch by asking for Kaneda's estimated time of death. He wasn't just gutsy, but also quick on the uptake. Naturally, she would have an alibi. It wasn't like I doubted it either. But with the state of Sumaru City, it was possible to kill a person without ever personally laying a hand on them. I'm not interested in your alibi. A proper investigator will no doubt come ask you about that soon enough. What I want to know is, have you seen this before? I pulled out a message card with white letters printed on a black field and handed it to her. You're next. The hell hell's this? Visenda is the Joker. He's a bizarre murderous monster from Rumor. You know, the one where if you call your number from your cell, he'll kill someone you hate for you. You've heard of him, right? Something identical to that had arrived at Kaneda's home. It seems like the Joker is conscientious enough to send an advance note. I never would have expected it for it to have matched the Rumor so perfectly. This is not going amazingly well, is it? So you think I asked him to kill the guy? Sorry, but if I'd wanted him dead, I'd have done it myself. Anna casually flipped the card over, glanced at the address, and was about to hand it back when she stopped herself. This was the second time today she'd made that face. That's right, it's my own address. You got any hunches? I think it's a prank. That could be some kid who's got a grudge against me for the work I do, but no, this is my doing. I called the Joker, and I asked him to call Shiori Mayashiro. I didn't know if she was lost for words, but Anna's expression didn't return to its blank mask. There were probably a lot of guys who'd love to see her make a different face from her usual mask. My efforts would have been praised by those gyrating bodies on the dance floor, although I doubted this was the face the guys wanted to see. Did they really have to phrase it like that? Could they have just not skipped that line? Whatever. Have you ever called your number from your own cell? Normally acts as though the line's busy and won't connect, but this went through. He never said a word, but the person from Rumor definitely picked up the line. And why do you give me your own name? There's no way I could test it without using someone else's name. Hey, how was it for you? Does Joker just kill the other person, or does he demand a reward or compensation or something? Hang on just a second. Have you ever held a conversation with him, or seen him in person? His hair, you think if he didn't cut it, it'd look like an unkempt lion's mane? Wasn't he in his late 20s, around maybe 27, 28? As I prattled on, Anna appeared to shut me out again. With a cold look, she stretched her arm out again and handed the advance notes back to me. You want to know that bad? Why not ask him? If there really is a Joker, he'll come kill you, right? Sorry, but since you went through to the trouble of preparing that little prop, I didn't ask him to kill anybody. Exactly right. If the Joker was just as rumored, even if I left him alone, he'd come to me. I just had to wait. That was my intention in the beginning. That's why I gave my name to whoever was loitering on the other side of the bug tear. Despite that, I paid this girl a visit because I wanted to calm my nerves. The photo of the victim flashed before my eyes. I'd seen a picture of the Assembly HQ investigating bizarre serial murders. Nobody wanted to die like that. If she had requested a murder from the Joker, then I might have gotten a clue leading to his identity. Though I wouldn't. Then I would have been able to arrest Joker before there'd been any more victims. But that meant this luckless girl would be accused of either being an accessory to, or to the prime suspect for the murders, or else instigating them. I was in such a hurry to capture the true Joker that I'd only thought about my own benefit, and unconsciously hoped for that. So naturally she'd held me in contempt, and this wasn't how a policewoman representing the juvenile division, which handled the well-being of young people, should have conducted herself. Still, I was a little relieved. Judging how she'd reacted so far, this girl was innocent. My expressly accusatory investigation had pissed her off. You're absolutely right. Sorry for giving you the third degree. I really ought to confirm it myself, after all. I looked into her without permission from the investigation HQ, so I had to make up for offending her when she was also the victim of a crime. I might have been working on my own, but if I broke faith with the system, I'd end up just another dirty cop. That wasn't an option for me. Besides which, the name of the game was to unmask, stop, and arrest the Joker. I steeled myself, approached the employee at the entrance, and showed him my badge, and spoke. This club has a VIP floor further in, right? Are there any entrances beside that door over there? The man tried to avoid meeting my eyes. He knew I was going to be trouble. Nah, we recently switched owners and back to mid-renovation. Nobody's using it right now, so it's empty though. How convenient. I'd like you to rent it to me until morning. Could you give me the key? Huh? No way, I'm a part-timer. I don't know nothing about that kind of shit. This club's reported that it's a Type 3 business, right? I wonder what time it is now. Just when did the alcohol start flowing freely? I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know the food and entertainment laws. If you don't, perhaps I could take you on a tour of the police station. I think at worst you'd get a month of casual leave. For a new one, I wouldn't get too mad, right? Casual leave. In other words, he'd be arrested as an accomplice, and the business would get suspended. By law, businesses is where customers stand and dance must report applying for a license to serve food and drinks. But once they get it, they can't do business past midnight. Stupidly honest clubs that close that early aren't popular. If they want to do business until dawn, they need to apply as a restaurant that serves liquor late at night. But if they do that, they can't let customers dance anymore. So-called small and medium-sized clubs conduct legally great business practice just by looking the other way. I understand, but what the hell are you gonna do? Please don't get me in trouble. Thanks. I'm just gonna dance until the dawn. If I survive, that is. He gave me 2 keys, and I handed the man my business card, which had my cell phone number on it. It was the card I'd give to kids I was providing guidance to. I'd tell them to call me if they had any problems. Naturally, to prevent misuse, it didn't mention that I was a policewoman. Then I politely asked for his cooperation, namely to call me if anyone else tried to enter the VIP floor. I added that if morning comes and nobody leaves, he should also call Sergeant Suo of the Criminal Investigations Division. I emphasized that he not contact any other policeman. I was sure Detective Suo would be shocked if he got a call just like I requested. After all, we'd never really talked before anyway. Even if he only knew me by name, I knew him well. The hell are you trying to pull? All of the victims up until now have been targeted in the places where they were alone. If I'm going ahead and in the back, staying by myself is ideal. There's no exit or entrance beside this one, so if anyone but me leaves through here, that means they're Joker. I mean, the logic stands, I guess. That card from before, it's the real deal? Hurry up and go home. Not all adults are as understanding as I am, so keep your carousing to a minimum. No matter what happens, you mustn't come peek inside. That guy you mentioned earlier, Detective Suo, he'll probably come to see you before all along. He's heading the investigation of number 501, the Joker. When he arrives, explain to him what I asked you tonight, and tell him that you don't know anything beyond that. He doesn't think you requested the hit from 501 either. Fair? Upon telling Anna that, I passed through the door of the VIP floor. Just in case, I locked the door from the inside. If I were 501, there's no way I'd ignore a locked room mystery of this caliber. The hallway connected to a secret dance floor, or changed into a red Chinese-style design. Word on the street was that nobody got in without the say-so of a regular. It looked like the rumors that the Taiwanese mafia bought out this club were somehow true. Before when I came to do guidance for the students of Kasugiyama High School, Club Zodiac was a cheap place arranged with constellations, as the name implies. While walking through a vulgar red corridor, the sort only the nouveau riche could like, I pulled out my cell and called a familiar number. After the 5th ring, someone picked up the line. Just like before, the rumor was true. So, you remember how I asked you to kill Shiori Mayashiro? She's on the VIP floor of Club Zodiac in the Yumazaki ward. That's all I said before I hung up the phone. There was no going back anymore. By the end of the night, I'd know if the rumors were true or not. If I'd failed, I'd just add another corpse to the pile. At that moment, I remembered everything. I remembered that I was from the other side, and that everything had happened there. Maya, Mayazumi-san, Akichi, Lisa, and Jun. We swore we'd never forget each other, and then we were torn apart. My friends watched Maya and me just stare. This is the ending of Innocent Sin, by the way. Maya, but the other Maya was smiling right before my eyes. Are you okay? You're not hurt? Are you? Sorry about that, I'm such a klutz. Wait, have we met somewhere before? We did. Yes, we did. There's no way I could have forgotten. Even if you told me to. Absolutely. Back when we were kids, I was always chasing after you. That's right. Please, now stop smiling like that. Jun and I promised we'd protect your smile. They're screwed up. First time was 10 years ago, second was in his world. and the third time. Damn it, I gotta get the hell out of here. I had no idea what I should do. That's why I shut myself away within the body of the other me and decided to sleep. If I saw nothing, heard nothing, and felt nothing, then maybe, just maybe, the peaceful days everyone had gained would continue uninterrupted, but there's no way that he would let that slide. You may flee your sins and hide yourself if you like, but you do know what will become of this world, don't you? You marionette, strung on the threads of fate, no one can escape the jaws of despair. I'm waiting. In my dream, he left a brand on my right hand, the mark of a sinner possessed by darkness. It dawned on me what was about to happen. People can neither run nor hide from themselves. There is one thing I had to do. If you want my life, I'll give it to you. If you tell me to fall into darkness, I'll do it. But I won't let anyone have their way with Maya, or this world where my friends live. I'm the only one he can do as he pleases with. But I won't go down easy. In exchange for everything I am, I'll burn that scornful, faceless mask and everything else of his to ashes. It's the one and only thing I can do to atone. Suddenly, the cell phone rang. It wasn't my brother. His calls were already blocked without me having to do anything. Looks like this me got along with his brother about as well as I did with mine. The caller ID said it was from Anna Yoshizaka. I knew that me on this side hung out with her, but I'm not really him. I can't respond to her like he would. It rang 10, 20, 30 times before I gave up and took the call. If nothing else, as long as I was temporarily borrowing this body, I figured it would be best to tell Yoshizaka that I can't stay in touch. Tatsuya? You're not hurt, are you? No. Whew. That's a relief. I felt something had happened. I knew that Yoshizaka had been waiting all night for me on this side to show up at Club Zodiac, but she didn't blame me for ditching her or ignoring the phone. She just expressed her relief. The only person she talked like this to is the other me. On the other side, I'd also had close relationships, just like he and Yoshizaka have here. My chest hurt. Tatsuya, you said your brother was a cop, right? Earlier, this weird cop chick came and holed herself up in the VIP floor. Seems like she called Joker and told him to kill her. She asked Nakamura-san to give your brother a ring in the morning if she didn't come out. You don't want to see your brother, right? I'm going to go up and check on her in a bit, but it'd be better if you didn't come tonight. That's all. The other me had probably never broken a promise. Yoshizaka still believed I'd come. So she went out of her way to call so I wouldn't run afoul of my brother on this side. But the bigger shock was her saying Joker's name. On the other side, Maya and the rest of us had fought against Yoshizaka, who'd become one of the Joker's minions. Don't you, Yoshizaka, don't you dare go in. I'll go, get out of there right now. Don't get anywhere near Joker. Yoshizaka? Okay. If that's what you say, I'll do it, Tatsuya. The me on this side called Yoshizaka by her first name, but I didn't have to correct myself, though. Joker might have already been close by. I was concerned about the woman dropping my brother's name, too. On the other side, my best friend Jun Kurosu put on the Joker mask after he screwed with his memories, but Jun kept his final promise. He should have lost his memories on the other side and now be peacefully living on this side as Jun Kashihara. Someone who wasn't Jun had become this side's Joker and is committing serial murders as his pawn. Marking the end and a new beginning. I vividly recalled the last line of the Oracle of Maya, which had served as the trigger for the destruction of the other side. The same thing that happened on the other side was happening here. The distortion that he had set over 10 years ago had extended over 2 worlds. He had known from the start what choice we'd make after losing Maya, and how things would turn out afterwards. Gritting my teeth, I grabbed an extra helmet for Yoshizaka just in case, and sped off into the city night on my motorcycle. Fine then. I'll go ahead and tear the slimy distortion he rove into causality to pieces, and finally, I'll rip his throat out. Tatsuya? When I reached the club, Yoshizaka spotted me and came running with a slight limp, a reminder of a hit and run. Why are you still here, Yoshizaka? Sorry, but... Well, she is still here. When Yoshizaka finished explaining what was going on, the club employee called out to me, looking nervous. He was acquainted with the other me, Nakamura if I remembered right. Yo, Tatsuya, I heard from Anna-chan, but Detective Sua's your big brother, right? I ain't calling the pigs from the club. Do you know that lady cop too? Damn it, this ain't funny. Normally the new owner's got the man's number. Nakamura-san, lend me the key to the back. I know you've got a spare. I'll talk to her. Talk? Hell no. She said to ring it in if anyone tried going in after. She's a cop, dude. A cop. You don't have to call. Tatsuya makes a fair point. I spotted and picked up a business card that I guessed the lady detective had left on the counter. Shiori Mayashiro. I went ahead and memorized her name and phone number. Honestly, massive brain move from Tatsuya there. Like, I can't remember her phone number, just looking at it once and done? Yeah, I can't do that. The next instant, the card burned up in my hand and turned to ashes. Was that some kind of magic trick? Nakamura yelped in surprise, sorry. Even Yoshizaka, whose expression hardly ever changed, widened her eyes. Still, they wouldn't have been able to see the arm of my persona, Apollo. The key. When I held out my hand, Nakamura got the key from out the case and handed it over, trembling with fear. The only spare I got right now is the key for that door. You know there's another door deeper in, right? I forgot the key for that one in the staff room. Well, that sorts out where I need to go. While I nodded, I grabbed the wooden sword that was crammed into the umbrella stand behind the counter. Given what kind of club this was, a rare brawl would break out between customers. The other me knew Nakamura had prepared it for self-defense, meaning I knew too. Hey, you couldn't be Joker. You couldn't be, right? When I looked up at him, Nakamura shrank away. Don't go spreading weird rumors. If it's the same as the other side, that'll cause problems. Other side? What the hell are you talking about? You're freaking me out, man. I paid Nakamura no more mind, and when I tried to head for the VIP floor, Yoshizaka blocked my way. You've been acting weird lately. Are you really Tatsuya? Women really are sharp. She was half right and half wrong, but then it was natural for her to have suspicions. The other me would have dealt with them better. He'd even joked around with her before. Before tried to get Yoshizaka to laugh with some lame impression, not like me. So this is why in this one Tatsuya won't do impressions of construction equipment and fighter jets and motorcycles. This one's a lot more serious. It was extremely unlikely that I'd get Yoshizaka to move until she got an acceptable answer. Nothing for it, I decided to tell her the truth. I'm me. Do I look like anyone else to you? On the other side, I had a scar on my back, carved there by Pseudo 10 years ago. The other me wouldn't have it, or at least he shouldn't. I was borrowing the body of that me. She wouldn't know about any scar on my back as long as I didn't, This side branched off by erasing the fact that me, Maya, Akichi, Lisa, and Jun met 10 years ago. Me and Maya never got attacked by Pseudo either. But lately, ever since I started to take control of it, scars have started appearing on this body too. It's an omen that the other side is in the process of encroaching on this side. Without replying, Yoshizaka bored her eyes into mine. She was tall for a woman, but I still had a head on her. She couldn't tell if I was a different Tatsuya on the inside. Could she? What are you going to do as I said? Go home already, Yoshizaka, before things get any worse. She averted her eyes. Is someone really going to kill her? I said some awful shit to her. I didn't know what she said to her, but Yoshizaka didn't need to worry about this. That other woman should have taken responsibility. She was the one who caused this mess. Don't worry, Yoshizaka. I won't let her get killed. That's why I came here. Hey, what do you intend to do, Tatsuya? Atone for my sins. Don't get involved with me for a while. With that said, I slipped past Yoshizaka. Anytime I got involved with someone else, it brought me pain without fail. I just completely I read that and just said something completely different. I didn't want to let anyone else feel like this ever again. With this, I'd bring all of this to an end. Okay, so now I actually have control of the game. So for this chapter, I only have Tatsuya. So I am only playing as Tatsuya. and I only have whatever persona I had equipped at the time. On the other side of the hallway has a cheap looking upholstery spangled with constellations to match Club Zodiac's name. Here, it had been changed to Chinese-style red upholstery. Nakamura had said the proprietor had changed. I wondered if they were trying to set up a Chinese restaurant in the interior. Then a few winged monsters I'd never seen before dropped down from the hallway ceiling. They were not altogether hornets, nor crabs, nor ants, nor vampire bats, but creatures unpleasantly, horrifically eerie. If I wasn't awakened to my persona, just looking upon them might have driven me mad and sent me screaming from the room. That's how big of a punch they packed. They snapped back their wings with a whip-like crack, and a malicious buzz started emanating from their abdomens, which were swollen like a hornet's. They had mouths on what looked to be their heads, but it seemed like their voices came from below. I couldn't quite pronounce it correctly myself, but I heard noises like Byaku. So, this is Byaku. We're going to be fighting these things. At any rate, these were probably his bright idea. This meant that there would be demons past this point. You're telling me to do a warm-up, huh? Sorry, but I'm not going to waste my time swatting flies. Get out of here, now. When I grumbled that to him, who was watching from somewhere, made a grating la-la noise from their abdomens vigorously, then flew with incredible vigor through the narrow hallway at me. Okay, so now we have to do a little fight. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I do have Apollo equipped, good to know. So let's go for Miragidyne and see how much damage it does. Okay, Photon Cannon didn't do much, so you know what, let's just spam Miragidyne until we win. So, for this chapter, I just have Tatsuya. I think it's just Tatsuya in the next one as well, but after that, yeah, like, this is, whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it. When they died, the monsters foamed violently like dry ice, then they vanished, leaving behind a nose-twitching stench. I couldn't afford to drag my feet here. I needed the other key that Nakamura had forgotten the staff room in order to enter the VIP floor further in. It'd be easy to bust down a single door, but there was a policewoman inside. And if I made a show of busting up the club, I'd get Nakamura in trouble, and the other me would get accused of a crime he wouldn't remember committing. I want to do this as carefully as possible. I ran in, heading for the staff room. So now we need to find our way to the staff room, and I'll be honest, I do not really remember how we get through here. So, 10 out of 10, it is time for me to get just a teensy little bit lost in here. Fortunately, the enemies in here are very low level. Like, they are nowhere near the level that Tatsuya is. Obviously, this is to make up for the fact that it's just Tatsuya there by himself. Because, obviously, he's here by himself, so he may be, like, upper level 50s. Like, he may be upper level 50s, but, like, the enemies I'm going to be fighting in here are, like, mid to high level 20s. So they aren't really going to be too threatening. So let's just do regular attacks, I suppose, and see how much this does. Okay, you know what? Let's just go for the Miragidyne. Wait, actually, let's try Frailer. Okay, it resists it regardless. So let's just spam this until they... Okay, I think Miragidyne might even do more damage. I'll just do Gigantic first. I think it said they were weak to Strike. Yeah, they're weak to Strike, so let's just do it that way. And obviously, Apollo doesn't have any healing spells, so I did stock up on some healing items before I came in here. Because, honestly, I do not want to have to... I'll be honest, I don't want to have to do this again. Because, well, you know, it took me like 25 minutes to read all that, and it took me like 25 minutes to read all that while tripping over all my words, so, admittedly, that was not exactly my greatest display of reading ability. Like, it wasn't my greatest display of reading ability, but hey, here we are. Also, I will be totally honest. I do not remember exactly where to go here. I know that, like, the thing is, I'm pretty sure this is exactly the same layout as it was when I came through here earlier in the game. But yeah, I do not remember how to actually do this. To be totally honest, I might drop a save state when I get to the actual, like, end of this, because if you game over here, you game over, basically. I think. I assume that's how it works. Okay, we found a staff room, so that's good. That's progress. I maybe should have healed before I came in here. But, well, we'll see how it goes. This too was unquestionably a secret room, but Shiori Miyashiro was nowhere in sight. According to Yoshizaka, it seemed she requested her own death so she could arrest the Joker. Normally, a single detective wouldn't go that far. It also concerned me that she forbade contact with any police officer besides my brother. There must have been something else going on. It could have been some connection between the police and Joker. I spotted the key on top of the table, but when I tried to approach, the corners of the room twisted mushily with a nauseating stench, and from a twisted space, several filthy tentacles stretched out. I jumped back just barely evaded them as the tentacles flung a thick mucus across the entire room. Smoke rose violently from the walls. This thing's limbs were melting them. Something was trying to rip through dimensions using the tentacles stretched to the walls as a foothold and force its way into this side. The walls crawled and so did my flesh. I'd never seen this thing until now either. It seemed the demons on this side were more grotesque and in worse taste than even the ones that I'd seen on the other side. So this is the introduction of Shub-Niggurath. I don't know how that's actually meant to be pronounced. It's a Cthulhu mythos thing, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, please. Its body was at once like a festering cloud, an octopus, and a twisted tree, and its many mucus-discharging mouths set my teeth on edge. Its black feet were split like goat hooves. If a normal person had seen this monster, they'd have probably gone insane. When you awaken to your persona ability, to the other you who possesses power like gods and demons, you become able to summon a persona. If you call for a god who holds sway over fire, like my Apollo, you can even manipulate flames at will. In the depths of human hearts, shared with all people, there's a domain where mythological archetypes dwell, and they grant an influence over an individual's personality development. Maya said that anecdotes of mythological divinities from all over the world will probably exist because of that. Gods and demons exist not in heaven and hell, but in the hearts of humanity. Personas even have an influence on physical and mental abilities. My ability to wield a sword like a master and my resistance to terror are both thanks to my persona. Gods and demons are not the only archetypes sleeping in the human heart. If the collective unconsciousness is where human psyches are born and returned to, that means I too exist somewhere in the world of the subconscious as a master of arms. But neither you nor I belong on this side. Go home. If I didn't settle things fast, I'd suffocate on this thing's stench and the reek of the burning walls. I might have been a persona user, but if I couldn't breathe, I'd die. I mean, he ain't wrong. Oh, also, it may be worth noting, this thing is just like a regular enemy that we'll be seeing in the final dungeon. So, okay, good information to have. Good to know that it appears to reflect fire, and that it's also apparently weak to getting punched. Okay, 10 out of 10, we are not even taking damage here. Okay, I will call that a massive success. I'll be honest, when I did this playthrough initially, in the now lost playthrough, that fight did not go anywhere near that smoothly. Like, I got poisoned and it took a while. The second I managed to kick that pseudo-goat out of this world, I grabbed the VIP floor key and leapt out of that stinking room. When Nakamura saw it inside, he'd scream. I tried my best to be careful, though. I hoped he wouldn't blame me for me afterwards. Okay, so, with that failure reading out the way, let's go! I need to be on the 3rd floor, but this is not the right 3rd floor. But now everything's just a straight line from here. Okay, I'm gonna run from these things. It's probably not worth fighting them. And I would start a ramble tangent about something, but I'm pretty sure it'd be like, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds. So it might not really be worth it. But yeah, I do... Also, it may be worth noting that this additional scenario isn't in the original game. This was only in the PSP version. So, actually, I'm pretty sure it was only in the PSP version. I imagine it is, because, like, the additional scenario... No, well, we made it to the VIP floor, but let's quickly just check here. 10 rattle drinks, that could come in handy, and... well, there's nothing else here. So, let's quickly just, let's quickly just Well, I haven't used for these in ages, so I might as well just, use them for something. I won't need 574 SP for this fight, but you know what? Better safe than sorry. So, let's head on into the VIP floor. Tatsuya used a VIP floor key, and in we go. This dream? Again? I was so sick of it. It was all because lately I'd been doing research on 501 right after getting off work. I hadn't slept well at all. When I leaned my back on the wall next to the VIP floor entrance, I started dreaming while upright. A golden butterfly danced in a round room, and that was encircled by pillars. Its flight pattern was even frailer than usual, but I knew what was about to happen. I mean, the butterfly was going to turn into a masked person and ask me my name, like always. My kid brother had always bugged me into playing this weird game, and ever since I'd had this same dream, over and over again. Sure enough, the butterfly vanished, and the masked person took its place. There's something unusual though. Their androgynous voice was harder to hear, and their body was gone dim and see-through. Now that I thought about it, the space between the pillars was redder and hazier than usual too. It doesn't matter how many times you ask, I won't tell you. Besides, nobody ever believed me when I told them the truth. No one ever believed me when I told them the truth anyway. I'd seen him, the man who dismembered my little brother. What I want to know was this butterfly person's name. You want to know mine? Tell me yours first. No, now that I was an adult, it was different. What I wanted to know was whether the rumor was true or not. The rumor that the Joker was Tatsuya Sudo, the monstrous serial killer from 10 years ago who was never caught. Becoming a policewoman let me figure out that the culprit was Tatsuya Sudo, son of Tatsuzo Sudo, the incumbent Minister of Foreign Affairs. I had no proof though, in which case I'd just have to prove that the culprit back then and the Joker were one and the same, just as rumors had said, and then figure out where he was. It had taken me 10 years to get to this point. Also, I will just make a quick little note. That is basically just saying if Shiori had just said her name there, she could have become a Persona user, because she obviously played the Persona game with her brother, and the butterfly person is Philemon, so she could have become a Persona user, but she refuses to. I guess it might be, like, she doesn't remember her name in that state, I don't know. Anyway, my dream and my memories had gotten all mixed up. Okay, yeah, I did read that line correctly. Just then, I heard the door unlock and the knob turn. I drew my P230P from my backslide holster, pulled back the hammer, and disengaged for manual safety. The trigger would be lighter this way, even if I'd just released the safety and shot using double action. Ever since the Investigation Bureau for 501 was formed, the order for all officers to be armed had been officially given to the Juvenile Division, a cooperating jurisdiction. The entrance opened quietly, and a tall shadow entered the dim dance floor, backdropped by lightning. He carried a cylindrical weapon turned over in his hand. It looked like a sword, all which matched the weapon wounds of 501's victims according to the forensic investigations. This is the police. Throw down your weapon. My voice sounded hoarse as I yelled that, aiming at the shadow's head from the side. I could have used it as a hot green tea. Shiori Mayashiro, right? I have my gun aimed at your head. Throw down your weapon. The shadow barely moved, as if he were a statue, but I didn't know if he was prepared for this. He immediately released his lethal weapon. I kicked it away from where it fell on the floor and shouted at him again with my gun still trained on him. You're under arrest for being in violation of the Swords and Firearms Control Law. Hands behind your head and drop to your knees. He placed his hands on the back of his head and obediently dropped to his knees. I couldn't let my guard down though. His victims weren't just cut down. There was somewhere it looked like they were eaten alive. Who knew what kind of deadly weapon he had hidden on him? If he'd shown even the slightest sign of resisting, I intended to gun him down without hesitation. Japanese police officers can't do shooting practice beyond 36 bullets worth a year, so it's difficult for us to hit a moving target. Not to mention, there's no way you could stop homicidal maniacs and junkies with a single .32 caliber bullet. Overseas, there's controversy over whether a 9mm caliber bullet would have enough force. Of course, there's probably a problem with using excessive force. The truth is though, I wanted 501 dead. He was clearly the culprit. Even if I secured him, he'd receive a non-indictment due to being of unsound mind, get institutionalized, and if I was unlucky, be back on the streets before a few months had passed. He'd leave, free as a bird, without anyone asking what his crime was. In this country, there's no judicial institution in place to handle mentally impaired people who've committed atrocious crimes. Involuntary institutionalization ultimately only targets the mental disability. They can't handle them as criminals. Consequently, once it's been judged that there's no fear of them harming themselves or others, they must be discharged immediately, even if the very doctor who examined them felt like there is a risk of recidivism. There have been several movements trying to introduce measures preserving law and order with stronger binding force. However, they've been stymied many times over because of strong protest from the opposing faction that touts protection of human rights. So then what about the human rights of the victims? The rights of the victims who one day had their uneventful but happy lives ripped from them all of a sudden, and those left behind. The perpetrator wasn't in a normal state of mind. They're incapable of taking responsibility. Are you telling me to fucking accept that? My loved one's life and future were unreasonably stolen, and the man responsible gets protected in the name of human rights? That's the status quo for this country's administration for justice. Are you crying? It's natural for someone to tear up when they're tense. He could see the corner of my eyes in this dim light. Whatever, it wasn't his damn business. Also, that's a wooden sword. The shadow jutted his chin at the weapon on the floor. I glanced at it without turning my head and confirmed that it was true. The hallway light streaming in from the door illuminated a wooden sword. I couldn't charge him with a violation of assault and firearms control law. Can I get up now? No. You may have still committed unlawful assembly with deadly weapons. What's your name? Tatsuya Tsuo. Don't know why I said it like that, but whatever. Tatsuya Tsuo. I turned up the hall lights with the remote in my other hand, and then looked at the shadow's face. Well, there was an intensity to it. This was definitely a young man. I guess he was about 17, 18 years old, and he looked like Sergeant Tsuo. Was he former Detective Tsuo's child? What was he doing here? Was he Joker? I was confused. Do you have any ID? I think there's a driver's license in my wallet. I ride a motorbike to school, and I doubt it's unregistered. He talks about himself like he was someone else. What a weird kid. Where's your wallet? Back pants pocket. Okay, stand up slowly, place hands on the wall and spread your legs. You know, just investigation stuff, I guess. Once he obeyed my directions, I completed a quick pat-down. He didn't possess any other weapons. Inside his wallet, there is a normal motorbike license, the so-called mid-license. There's his name and picture. This was Tatsuya Tsuo, alright. Okay, turn this way. Keep your hands where I can see them. He obeyed me without question. At least his face and photo matched it at a glance. I don't know what happened to my ability to read, but what's happened. But there was something different about the boy in the photo. He gave a challenging smirk, like he'd fight anyone who looked at him funny. It was his eyes. What was with this kid's eyes? It looked like they'd suck me in. What child looked like that? There is a detached quality to his gaze, like he'd resigned himself to, or accepted something. How did you know my name? Were you the one who picked up on the other end of the line, or did you hear it from your father? The address on the photo ID definitely matched what I pinned down for former Detective Tsuo. No doubt about it. This kid, it was the son was his son and Sergeant Tsuo's little brother. My dad? No, I saw your business card downstairs. He was probably surprised that I knew his father, given his puzzled expression. I see. Did people from the club ask you to chase me out, or did you come and kill me? You wouldn't happen to be Joker, would you? No, the club's got nothing to do with it. I can't warn you because Yoshizaka asked me to. If you stay here, Joker really will kill you. Do you mean the advance notice? If you know about that, then hurry up and go home. You don't understand at all. Your gun won't do a thing. The next moment, I found myself staring blankly at the center of his chest. It took me several seconds to comprehend that he'd seized my handgun along with my right hand and pulled me in close. His movements were so hyper-quick, my eyes played tricks on me, making it look like time had skipped. He tightly gripped the small automatic handgun in his large, decidedly unboyish left hand. The slide was retreating a bit too. Now, even if I pulled the trigger reflexively, it wouldn't shoot. Where in the world did he learn this? I felt I felt the forceful beat of his heart on my cheek through his through his bright red bike levers. Words I can read. When I looked up, I saw the handle of a fruit knife or something similar thrust all the way to the hilt in the wall next to his face. It hadn't been there a second ago. If my face hadn't been buried in his chest just now, that thing would have struck dead on the back of my head. When he removed his right hand, which held on my head, he pulled out the knife next to his head while glowering a spot further inside the club. The blade, it's about 10 centimeters long, but all of it had sunk into the wall. The physical strength of the person who threw it was impressive enough, but this kid who casually pulled it out was amazing too. How long have you been there? From the start, dumbass! At Tatsuya-kun's question, the voice of another man behind me responded. It sounded like he was a good distance away. It's been a long time since I had booze. Here I was thinking over a drink about how to act about broad, when you get right in the fucking way. The voice is over, Une 501. It seemed that this boy, it seemed that until this boy came, I'd been alone with him in the dark. When I arrived, I verified that there wasn't anyone in the dance hall. Or when did he get here? A chill ran up my spine. When I twisted my body around as if to shake off my fear, Tatsuya-kun removed the hand that had been restraining me. Without a moment's delay, I alternated my gun at both him and the direction of the noise. Neither of you move, throw down your weapons. Tatsuya-kun didn't so much as glance at me. I too kept my aim and my eyes focused on the man further in. 10 years had gone by, but he looked exactly the same. This was without a doubt the man who'd stood next to Takiya's cruelly mangled corpse, his unforgettable crazed smile. I knew he was 501. Tatsuya Sudo, I finally found you. First time no see, you fucking brat. Voices told me all about you and the other side. Sudo was sprawled out on the sofa deeper inside the dance floor, legs shamelessly stretched across the cushions. He was gulping down an entire bottle of dry gin and dangling from one hand, and he'd probably pinched it from the bar counter next to him. He had 5 o'clock shadow and an unkempt hair growing out like a mane, and he was wearing nothing but a coat on his shoulders on top of a patient gown from some hospital somewhere. What a freakish outfit. He was carrying a cylindrical weapon in his left hand. It was an unsheathed Japanese steel sword. I could estimate in flagrante delicto for this alone. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Tatsuya-kun walked right up to that Atsudo without a trace of fear. At some point, he'd picked up the wooden sword I knew I'd kicked away. He was next to me the whole time. How had he picked it up? I cannot read today. Flustered, I hurried after him. So you're the joker on this side, Tatsuya Sudo. Seems like something he'd do. These two clearly knew each other, but Sudo said this was the first time. What did they mean by the other side? Who did they mean by he? But was it supposed to be Tatsuya Sudo, the subject of all those unsavory rumors? I'm a stand-in, you know? Stand-in. Just until the real one graces me with his awakening. The real joker ain't me. You know that best of all, although, wouldn't you? Yeah, Jun isn't a filthy murderer like you. You're Tatsuya Sudo. You can't just take the Joker's place. yeah, true. You ain't got an ugly mug like me. Thanks for a tip, you fucking brat. What I need is a mask. The Joker's mask. Sudo uttered a vulgar snicker and gulped down the rest of the bottle. The booze that spilled out of his mouth tracked down his throat and drenched his blood-stained hospital gown. The one gracing him? Joker's stand-in? What in the world did they know that I didn't? Sudo, it's not too late. You can still start over. Don't listen to his voice any longer. Start over? I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but even 10 years ago, this piece of shit killed a whole lot of people. You can't bring the dead back to life. A detective shouldn't say anything like that. But right then, and all I could do was scream it out. It didn't matter if he did turn over a new leaf. It still wouldn't bring Takiya back. Tatsuya-kun glanced back at me with a slightly shocked expression. You know that thermodynamics first law thing? It's all about heat and energy. There's only so much of it to go around. You can't change what you all got. Get it? There's a fixed volume of energy in the universe, and it's all just got a different form. That's how it is. With Fitch, it's just the same. You got one guy who gets to be happy, so another guy's got to be unhappy to make up for it. Like the meals you eat, alright? You throw away what you can't polish off, right? In return, some asshole starves to death somewhere in the world. Ah, I get it now. Voices are amazing. Voices. That brought a kid's brother. He was your stand-in. My stand-in? That day, you little shits changed your fate and ran off with your tails tucked. He got axed by me in your stead. You get it, right? Tatsuya watched my face with widened eyes while listening to his story. I couldn't take my eyes off him either. Takia was this boy's replacement? Incoming phone call. Got an order to kill Maya Amano. In the moment Pseudo said that, a shadow that looked like a crimson figure flared up from Tatsuya-kun's body and assaulted Pseudo. A black figure seeped out from Pseudo's body too. The two men all of a sudden were locked in mortal combat. Not that kind. Over Tatsuya-kun and Pseudo's heads, the shadows clashed in the same form. Scarlet and sable flames intertwined and whirled all through the dance floor like two snakes trying to swallow each other whole. Several bottles that had been left on the counter exploded, and alcohol-fueled flames ran over the countertop. This is Joker, the personas your sins say it. How do you like it? Looks good. Looks just like you. Lay one finger out on Maya, and I swear I'll hunt you down and kill you like the dog you are. Every time, in every world. And whose fault is it that bitch died, huh? Whose fault is it the other side got blown to hell? Shut up! You killed them all. I almost feel sorry for him. Take a good hard look at my persona's happy fucking face. Okay. No, wait. I thought we were getting into the fight now, but I guess there's a couple more lines. Yeah, get mad! Get mad at it! Let the voices take you! Okay, boss fight time. I say boss fight, this will not be difficult. I say that, watch as having said that, hubris now just... Watch as I now get hit with my big fan of hubris. Also, he'll have reverse Apollo, so I can basically just spam Gigantic Fist, because I'm immune to nuclear and fire, and yeah, he wouldn't be able to do a whole lot. Okay, there's Nova Kaiser, which does nothing. But yeah, like, this is basically just spam Gigantic Fist and you eventually win. Admittedly, wait, he has Megiddo? I don't have Megiddo! Oh well, whatever, it won't make any difference. I have plenty of beads and everything if I need to heal, but honestly, I don't see it happening. But, you know, it's nice to have just a safety precaution as a little thing next to it. Actually, yeah, I probably should heal. Okay, he missed a Venom Needle, that's nice. Okay, yeah, time to heal. I'll just use a bead, I have 51 of them, so I'll be back to full health, and have a nice clean round 50 left. And now, yeah, let's just do a regular attack. Oh, I didn't even need to heal. Okay, well that worked. Well, there he goes. The charged dance floor was choked with smoke. Tatsuya-kun stood in its center with slumped shoulders and let the water gushing from the sprinklers strike him. Pseudo soared for a stint on the floor in front of me. He brought to mind a grave marker. In the rain, he was a solitary silhouette, reminiscing on a lover lost a long, long time ago. A lone shadow. He struck a desolate figure, like something torn on from a movie by that kind of title. I misread that line again. Anyway, maybe the fury I'd caught a glimpse of a moment ago had been a dream. The flames had already been extinguished, but no fire alarm had gone off. Had one not been installed, or was it turned off? Either way, that was a violation of the Fire Services Act. Pseudo had escaped, but before Tatsuya-kun's wooden sword could split his face in two, he'd vanished, as if sucked into a round patch of darkness that had opened up in midair. For a long time after that, Tatsuya-kun stood stock still. I just watched him. We were both soaked from head to toe. At last, head still bowed, he pulled out the sword Sudo left behind and murmured, subdued, "What was your brother's name?" Takia. If he'd lived, he would be about your age. Can I ask when he died? It was a sweltering summer night, 10 years ago. August the... Insert date here. On the grounds of the shrine in Rengadai. I found him. Sudo had just thrown Takiya's head into the underbrush and was about to run away. That's the day. How could this be? Tatsuya-kun faced me with a look like he wished he could be anywhere but here. The golden retriever that Takia and I kept when we were kids often had that look when our mom got mad at him. But this kid could never be someone's pet dog. He was more like a wounded lion who had removed himself from the pride. The only people who ever believed me when I saw Sudo's face were your father and one other police officer. Your father promised me he'd arrest Sudo. 3 days after that, he was discharged for accepting bribes. Purportedly, he'd accepted multiple bribes as compensation, in compensation for disclosing investigation info into organized crime groups. It was complete bullshit. Your father had been set up by Sudo's father and another police officer. His partner had betrayed him. What? Damn it, there was no stopping it now. This wasn't my story to share, but it wasn't fair to get him to tell me everything he knew if I didn't spill my guts too. Whatever burden this kid was carrying, I wanted to share it. I couldn't help but feel that if he didn't, he'd end up falling into a bottomless hell. I was sure he was just barely keeping his balance on a very thin edge, much like the blade he now had in his hand. And there was no way that it was okay for a teenage boy to make a face like that. But you know, it was only just recently that I learned that myself. I always held a grudge against your dad. That's why I became a cop. I thought the police weren't trustworthy. I'm sorry. Your father was a fine police officer. He took responsibility for a crime he didn't commit to protect you, your brother, me, and his backstabbing friend from Sudo. They must have killed him inside. Oh. I might have just made things worse. I didn't have the silver key to open the door he'd shut tight. I wagered the only one who did was my hermano. But whether with a wire or whatever, I want to meddle anyway and pick that lock open. I'm so sorry. What Sudo said was true. It's my fault your little brother died. At that point, I still had no concept whatsoever of the consciousness or palpable weight of the sins he'd shouldered. To be continued. Okay, back to the Velvet Room. Welcome back. How was your trip? Perhaps you've come to understand Master Tatsuya Suo's suffering a hair more. I'll keep the memory shard in my care, so in the event you would like to review it, please let me know. Okay, thanks, Eagle. Okay, so with that is Lone Shadow Part 1 done. So what I'm going to do is save, and in the next episode we'll be doing Lone Shadow Part 2. Oh, also, I should probably note, Part 1 takes place before the game starts, and the, hey, got a call to kill Maya, that's, just before the start of the game, and, leads up to the Aerospace Museum, I believe. Anyway, I'm gonna end this one off here. We'll be doing Part 2 next time, and hopefully I'll remember, hopefully I won't trip over my words quite as much. That's honestly, with an episode that had as much reading as this one did, I was genuinely worried about that, but hey, it could have been worse, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to end this one off here. As always, feel free to leave a comment or click any of the buttons down below if you feel so inclined, and I will hopefully see you all in the next one for a Lone Shadow Part 2 in an Eternal Punishments additional scenario. Okay, thanks for watching. Later.